Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and today we have some Dominaria preview cards courtesy of Wizards of the Coast. They posted them today on their website. And typically, you wouldn't see preview cards quite this early, at least not in the amounts that we're seeing. The official previews would begin a week from today, next Monday. However, because Wizards accidentally posted that article a couple weeks ago now, revealing a lot of the set, they're going to sprinkle some cards throughout the week, and we will recap and cover them here for you. Now, quickly before we get started with today's cards, just a really fast reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to help support what we do here at the channel, one of which is our Patreon page. You'll also find links to products on Amazon if you make any purchases on Amazon. Once you go through that first link, we'll get a small percentage no matter what it is. And then finally, Flipside Gaming still offering a promo code for our viewers. It's a good way to hopefully save some cash and also support the channel. And as always, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to all the viewers. You all make this channel what it is. So with that being said, let's get into it. We're going to start off with Danitha, Capashen, Paragon. This is a white and 2. It's a legendary creature, Human Knight, uncommon 2/2. It's got First Strike. It's got Vigilance. It's got Lifelink. Aura and equipment spells you cast, they cost 1 less to cast. There's a lot going on there for 3 mana. First off, let's talk about the lore a little bit. Capashen, of course, is Gerrard Capashen's last name, which is a character many of you will be familiar with, captain of the Weatherlight crew. Now, is she a blood relative? Maybe not necessarily, because Capashen actually was a clan name, so it doesn't have to be. I'm sure we'll find out in the coming weeks as they tell more of the story. I'll be looking forward to kind of finding out her background. But also, too, the art is incredible. They've done a great job with so much of the art in this set. With that out of the way, what about the card itself? The card is fantastic. Let's talk about Limited first. Limited Bomb, like first pickable, probably in most packs easily. It's an uncommon, which is kind of sweet. You might even be able to grab a couple of these in a draft. And I'm okay having 2 of these in my pool, for example, because it is legendary. And even though I know I can't play them both at the same time, 2 toughness, I mean, at some point, your opponent's probably going to have an answer for this, and to follow up later with another one is definitely not a bad thing. This brings so much presence to your side of the battlefield. First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink for 3 mana. You don't even have to worry about that other ability. Even if you're not playing Aura as an equipment, this is going to be great for you. If you are, bonus, that's even better. What about Standard, though? First off, I would like to try this out maybe in Mardu vehicles, perhaps a 1 or 2 of it first, and just kind of test it, see if it pushes the power of that deck a little bit, because that is a deck that still does pretty well in the current meta, although it had bigger days in previous metas. Could a card like this push its power level a little more again, especially as the meta develops with more cards? Maybe. It'd be interesting to at least try it out there. Now, if you want to get a little crazier and you're a standard brewer, you got to remember there's all those cards from Kaladesh still out there. A lot of them could interact really well with this card. I mean, think back to cards like SRAM, Paradoxical Outcome, Aetherflux Reservoir. Now, I know brewers tried to make this a deck early on and never really quite got there, but could this have been the missing component? I don't know. It's something worth at least looking into, if nothing else. And even if this doesn't make it into Standard, what an amazing, fun, casual deck you could have, or some interactions that could work well in Commander. And that's the other place where I think this card could really shine. If you have equipment and aura effects in your Commander deck, you might even want to consider this making your Commander in some builds. Or even if it's just a support card, could be good there too. Alright, our next card is a Saga. I won't go through all the Saga rules because I have done that in a couple videos now. They are on the playlist if you need to catch up. But this is Triumph of Gerrard, so another Gerrard callback here. This costs a white and 1, and 1 and 2 are both put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control with the greatest power. And 3, target creature you control with the greatest power gains flying, first strike, and lifelink until end of turn. This is also an uncommon, so you'll see a few of these floating around in a draft. Are they worth picking up is the question? I think some of the time. It depends on what you're doing, what archetype you're trying to get into, and some of the time this card probably won't be great for you and it won't make your cut. Other times I do think it is very playable, and especially if you have a lot of small creatures in white, that feels like it could be very achievable from what we've seen so far. And if those creatures have either evasion or first strike, for example, like a lot of the knights do, if you're drafting knights in white and black in that archetype, then this could be a good pickup for you perhaps. Because even if this thing doesn't get past 1 and or 2, putting a +1/+1 counter on a 2/2 First Strike Knight is not the worst thing in the world for 2 mana. That doesn't feel bad at all. And if the other stuff begins to develop, well, wonderful. Now, the downside is you got to consider a lot of decks in Limited are going to be very creature heavy. You're not going to have that many spots, and you have to kind of decide, is this one worth it? The drawbacks are you don't necessarily feel like you're going to want this to replace a removal spell or maybe even a good combat trick some of the time, depending on what kind of pool you have. And secondly, I realize right now in most recent Limited environments, people aren't main decking Artifact or Enchantment Destruction. However, this set, from what we've seen so far, makes me feel like with all the sagas running around and also some decent artifacts, you might see more main deck hate for those type of things. Think back to the Meriden Limited environment, for example. Shatter, which traditionally is a card you would board in, became main deckable there. It was actually even better than Terror because of all the targets it had. So the meta kind of shifts in that regard. So you're going to see that, I think, with this. And because I do feel like there's going to be some enchantment hate running around, I don't want to count and put all my eggs in the basket that I'm going to get to number 3 all the time with this. If that's my win condition, I might be having a bad day, right? So don't think of it that way. Think of it as a nice incremental bonus. It's very cheap, just a white and 1 for maybe some of your creatures if you're running a lot of small creatures, for example. The other thing to remember is you don't get to choose what creature you put the counter on. It goes on the one with the greatest power. That can be a little bit awkward at times too, especially if there's a creature in particular that would benefit more from this than your larger creature. So again, another reason, doesn't always make your cut, but again, it can be very playable. Now for the downsides I listed, I don't really see this happening in Standard. I think it's just a little too slow and a little too conditional on board state. Alright, let's move on to Wizards Lightning. I'm going a little out of order in color pie here because I want to tell the story that these cards are telling. These are actually in a particular order. So this is a red and 2. It's an instant uncommon. This spell will cost 2 less to cast if you control a wizard. Wizards Lightning deals 3 damage to any target. So basically, if you have a wizard in play, it's a lightning bolt. If you don't, you're paying a red and 2. So, for limited purposes, yeah, this card's awesome. First off, I'll first pick this probably a lot of the time, even if I don't think I'm going to have a wizard in play, because 3 damage to player or creature, or planeswalker, by the way, for just 3 is going to be good for you in Draft and Sealed. You're going to be really happy, and if you have a wizard, it's even better. That's fantastic. Besides that, what about Standard? Could it see play there? Well, the thing is, I mean, maybe there will be a spell-centric deck with a lot of wizards in it. We haven't seen enough of the set yet to make me feel like that's possible, but again, who knows? We got a lot of cards to go. If it gets there in Standard, then yeah, sure, let's see Standard play. But if I were to shoehorn this into the current Standard, honestly, I don't know if it gets there. The problem is, it's a little conditional. It's asking for a wizard to be in play for it to really be good. If a wizard isn't in play, then am I going to play this over cards like a lot of the things we see now? A Braid, Lightning Strike, Magma Spray, Shock. Probably not, quite honestly. Now, is that card better than these if I have a wizard? Yeah, in most cases it sure is. However, I don't know. I don't want to feel like I have to have the wizard in play to make the card good enough, right? So that's the problem a lot of times when you look at competitive Standard. You don't want to worry too much about situations that may or may not be happening. You just want consistency in your cards. These 4 cards do give you that consistency. So I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see, but unless there's a really strong wizard push coming, I don't necessarily see it. One thing to remember though for other formats, whether it's casual formats, cubes, or even maybe modern, Snapcaster Mage is a wizard. Now, Lightning Bolt is modern legal, so do you need to stack these on top of Lightning Bolts? I don't know, maybe not, considering again there's a lot of other good cards you could use out there instead. But remember Snapcaster definitely for the next card we're going to be looking at. Now, one other thing I want to point out about Wizards Lightning is that flavor text. The study of magic began when the first mage taught herself to throw lightning. Nabin, Dean of Iteration. Now check out this next card. This is Wizard's Retort. 2 blue and 1. It's an instant uncommon. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a wizard. Counter target spell. The second mage learned to dissipate blasts of lightning. Threat and response. Thus did the study of magic progress. So it's kind of almost the origin story of magic, which is kind of cool. I really like what they did there. So I think the lore and the story these cards tell is amazing. Again, the art looks incredible. So is it playable? Yeah, you know what? This is at worst a cancel. So think about cancel when you play limited. Does it always make your cut? No, it depends on what deck you're playing, right? If you're playing a more controlling deck, you're happy to play cancel and limited. If you're not playing a controlling deck, then a lot of times it doesn't make a cut. Just kind of depends on what's going on. Sometimes cancels can be good in a deck that's not more into a control base if you just don't have a lot of good removal in the colors you're in. So sometimes it can kind of take the place for removal. So it does see play a lot, but maybe not all the time. Now, if you control a wizard, then this is Counterspell, and that's even better. So let's talk about Standard. Does it get there? I think the same thing with the card we just saw a moment ago. If there is this strong, like, Spells Matters wizard deck that evolves from what we see from this set, then of course it will be part of it. But if I were to put it in today's Standard, would I use it? Is it going to beat out these cards? There are a lot of good control cards like Censor, Disallow, Essence Scatter, Negate, Supreme Will. Again, if I have a wizard, is that last card better? Yeah, most of the time, probably. But again, I don't want to necessarily create a situation where I need that wizard in play for the card to be better than these cards, which are always going to be at least consistent for me, and I know what they're going to be doing. So I think that's a problem that the card will have in Standard. Now, like I mentioned a moment ago, maybe this is a little more relevant in Modern because with Snapcaster Mage, you don't have Counterspell already available to you, unlike Lightning Bolt. So perhaps you do want to try this out in control decks in Modern. Not to mention, again, there's a lot of other formats where this could be a lot of fun for you. I mean, both cards would be great in a Commander deck that has a wizard. And I know what everybody's thinking. Everybody picked up that pre-constructed wizard deck not too long ago. So sure, these cards fit into the Inala deck, or maybe just your own wizard brew. So I think there's a lot of things you can actually do with these cards, and I'm looking forward to kind of see their role going forward in not only the next meta, but also post-rotation, because I do think post-rotation, a lot of these cards that maybe don't see immediate play, maybe will have a chance down the road. All right, with that being said, that's what we know so far today. I'll keep you posted. Like I said, I'm expecting more cards throughout the week, and we'll recap them all for you. But until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe. Have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.